right, so you guys got all your hundreds. Now I'm also curious, give me roughly, you don't have to have it perfect unless you happen to have it perfect off the top of your head. I'm curious how many what was the breakdown of wouldn't it be nice versus wouldn't it be awful? Was it 60% nice, 40% awful, or 75, 25, whatever? I don't want to go around the room like how many, let's just go with nice, and then obviously the leftovers that. Approximately how much of your list was nice? Was it 60%, 30%, 95%? Cameron?
50.
50? 60? 57? Really? Half and half roughly? Okay. 50-50. Okay. And Gabe, you didn't do it, right? That's right, it didn't go up. Okay. So it's kind of interesting to look at that. So now today's exercise is going to involve some of your awfuls. So the whole wishful thinking exercise is to try to start narrowing this down with trying to create a vision. Remember this chapter, we're trying to create a vision for our life. We're kind of dreaming about wouldn't it be nice, wouldn't it be awful? And we need to change any of the awfuls. So, for instance, wouldn't it be awful if we were unable to keep up with technological development in our field? Might become, wouldn't it be nice if we find a way to keep up with technological advancements, right? People, you see what we're doing? Okay, go up to the board and reverse what you just wrote. Change your awful into a nice. So you're just reversing the statement, basically putting a little bit of, you're still taking it, but trying to come up with a way of addressing your going to jail, nuclear war, debt, masks still being worn, eaten by sharks. How can you we start to look at that list? All right, so then we're going to be identifying the key statements once we've done the reversals. Use the HITS tool described in chapter 6 to identify those positive situations and those that seem most promising and those negative situations that seem most crucial to avoid. So what was the HITS tool from chapter 6, the HITS? Highlights and hits. So the HITS tool, what were we doing with the HITS tool? It's nothing too extravagant, it's kind of simple really, but we're looking at all 100 that you guys did, and what are we doing?
Wait, isn't that like with the Google where why we did the parking lot and we found like the hits that felt the most?
Yeah, and we're just, now that we've diverged, right, which some of you didn't quite articulate this the best on your midterm test, but this 100 statements is diverging, right? And some of them, as Cameron said, might be outlandish. But it might help us make a connection with something that was a little more related. So it's okay to be outlandish. But now as we start to converge, we want to start to look at things that we might be able to kind of coalesce around. So if we go to chapter 6, here is the hits. So the hits tool was just looking at everything and marking those items that jump out to you. Like, oh, this one's really important. Like, I want to circle this one, or I want to set it aside. So maybe we start to pick off some of our 100. Maybe we whittle it down to 30 or 20 or whatever. It doesn't really matter. And then the other part with the highlighting and hits, so we identify the hits, the ones that look good, and then we can start to maybe cluster the ones that seem together. So maybe Rayleigh has a few that are related to debt or something, or personal finance or something like that. And maybe Jalen's got other jail items that he's trying to get some counseling help on or something for his anger management issues. So I'm making all of that up. So Jalen, thank you for the jail example. Or maybe it's the legal system or something, but we start to kind of see other ones that pop out that are kind of similar, and that might start to be something like, oh, I really think my life could be headed that direction in terms of a vision statement. Okay, so our last step here is to figure out which ones of those we should do. So we've converged down to 20, 30, 10, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a clustered group of them that you can articulate into an area of your life or something like personal finance. And then we're going to use this little tool to figure out which ones would be the best to pursue. So this is called the Success Zones tool. How important is this item on your list, like sharks? And I don't know, are you in shark-infested water back in England or anything or something? So maybe it was a little outlandish, maybe it wasn't quite as important, so maybe it would start to fall on the importance scale, right? And then what is the probability of success? Well, maybe it has a high probability of success of avoiding sharks. I don't know, because you just don't go swimming or whatever. But you think about the ability to be successful at that particular goal or whatever the item is. And so then this starts to highlight things that you should probably have as part of your vision statement. So if you have a high probability of success and it's a really important thing to you, you kind of put it in that block, and that might be an opportunity. If it's kind of in the middle, especially in the middle of both, maybe it's a gray area. Here it's important, but starting to be less likely that it's going to succeed. So stretch goals, low-hanging fruit, as if it's of easy importance, but it's really easy. So these are all things that might be incorporated into your final area. And then we get more and more, if something's high probability of success, but it's not very important at all, like the sharks, it's kind of a distraction. Like, let's not bother to have that as part of our thought process. If it's really important, but it's like, no way that's going to happen, then maybe it's something that's out there, but maybe it's too difficult at the time. But all we're trying to do is narrow things down. Again, bringing the list down further from maybe 20 or 30. Now we've got it down to which ones are in this area, right? And it's like, oh, okay, these 3 or 4 things are really important, and I think that is something doable that I can have in terms of this vision. And then, of course, the last one is just stupid. So that is the Success Zones tool, convergence tool. Questions on that? Okay, so your assignment, which I don't have your thing pulled up here, so let me just pull it up for you. Oops, I thought I did just 2 bits. Thought I had a slide for this, that's why I guess I didn't. All right, so on your course material, under assignments, this is where you submitted your 100, and now you've got this one here. So of your list, reverse any of your offals. So if you got 50 offals, you're going to have to do some reversing of those. And then convert your hits into at least 4 categories. So you're going to group them, like kind of look at your list, and maybe you'll write some in a different, however you want to organize it, it doesn't matter. But try to create at least 4 categories of things that seem related to each other. Maybe Cameron also had 4 or 5 other things related to the ocean or fish or something. And I'm like, oh, well, these are all water related. Maybe I've learned I have this fear of water or something, right? I don't know what it is, but or a light of ocean living. 10 years from now, you want to live by the ocean or something. So try to create that, and then use the Success Zones convergence tool to identify the best tasks to start with accomplishing your goal in 10 years. So does anybody got any questions on that? All right, that is Sunday night homework exercise. So sometime over the weekend, you can hit that one. Okay. Back to this. All right. So that is chapter 7, exploring the vision. And then ultimately, I guess I didn't. I can't remember if we did this in another time or not, but you might be thinking about putting together your list to creating your goal or your vision is to create your own vision statement. By 2031, what's your life going to look like? And kind of have a vision statement of that is ultimately where you can take that. Okay. So, formulating challenges is chapter 8. So, again, we have to kind of think in reverse. So, we could just say by 2030, I guess, if we want. But what would keep Ottawa University from achieving this goal, this vision, I should say, of transforming us 10 years from now? By 2030, Ottawa University will be positioned as rapidly expanding, innovative things, right? So, oh, that sounds great. Well, what's going to stop us from getting there is what we're doing with chapter 8 and formulating challenges. This is not a easy answer, right? Of trying to come up with things that are standing in our way for Ottawa University to look like this 10 years from now, or to have that look. So that's going to take some creative thinking. So, what's a challenge? What do you find most challenging to being successful at college? Challenge to being successful at college. I want everybody to come up with something. I go to the hands first here. Jalen, I saw you first, I think, and then Cameron.
Time management.
Time management, okay. Cameron?
Motivation.
Motivation. Yeah, I think especially as we go longer into the semester, I'm seeing motivation problems. Okay, somebody over here, challenging thing. Kevin? Online classes. Are you taking some straight online classes right now, or?
No, but I do.
Okay, when you have the Zoom contact that some professors are still doing. Okay, good. Rayleigh, Gabe? Losing focus. Okay, Gabe? Say that again?
Repeat one or
yeah, repeat, but put a little twist on it that's personal to you. Okay. With like your sports, you have a pretty demanding schedule. Okay, good. And Bryce. Procrastination. All right. So those are all things that are challenging. So the author defines it that way. And so in this process, we're going to try to identify gaps that needs to be closed. So do problems find you, or do you find problems? What do you normally do? Do problems find you, or do you go looking for problems? Which one do most people fall into, honestly? Do problems find you, or do you find problems? Do you go looking for problems? Not typically, right, Bryce?
Isn't it the same thing, just like your outlook on it, I guess?
It can be, but I think the thing that we're going to push here is we're going to specifically seek out problems. Whereas a lot of times we are more reactive, like, oh, there's a problem, and then you react to it. But with this exercise, in order to achieve that vision for Ottawa University or whatever our vision is, we're going to intentionally look for problems that we might face as we do it. So a problem is a predicament or opportunity, a gap between what you have and what you want. So what we want is that long-term vision of the picture that we've painted in the future and where we're at today. So we talked about storyboarding as one of them, right? So we draw, and since Gabe did the picture thing, we actually talked about pictures all my markers? Oh, I gave them all to you guys, didn't I? Yeah, I would be months now. All right. So, Gabe, I really like that thing. I think you could have done more with it.
Yeah.
So you guys can use this document camera. I think that would have been a perfect example to put the picture on the screen. I also thought it would have, and it would be interesting to see if you guys had any, what your comments were, but wouldn't it have been fun to tell a story that connected the pictures? Right? And they were pretty crazy pictures, of course, but you can always fill the gaps and tell a story, like make up a story that connects the pictures, maybe change the order of them or something, like what comes next? Oh, well, the basketball's being shot out of a cannon that then hit the little street or, whatever as you go through. So that could have been even another level of detail. So I thought you kind of left it hanging there at the end, and I saw that you didn't submit your plan. So did you have a detailed plan that you haven't submitted yet?
I have.
Yeah. So when you came up here, you're like, should we collect the pictures? Well, I guess you guys could kind of look at them or something.
Yeah.
I mean, that told me right away, like, dude, where's your plan, right? I mean, that should have been all thought out with your plan so that you knew exactly what you were going to do, whether we display it or whether we hold them up or do whatever. So having that plan, the law of navigation, is a critical step, especially when you're leading a presentation or an activity like that. But I did love the activity, the drawing and stuff. I thought it was one of the more creative, kind of invoked creativity by doing the drawing thing and passing around. I thought it was kind of fun. All right, so the storyboarding can kind of help us get from start to finish. Okay, so what is problem finding? So we're going to have intentional behaviors, attitudes, thought processes that are directed toward the envisionment, posing, formulation, and creation, as opposed to the process involved with solving them. So we're going to look for problems, but not look for answers right away, right? We're just looking for the problems. The answers might come later through other things, but we're just trying to take that step of diverging on problems. Can you see how, like, let's say there's a number of problems that we could dream up for the Ottawa University vision statement, and that we could be right down a rabbit hole. And the first problem we do, we're like, okay, well, let's figure this one out. What if this happens and this happens? And we could end up spending a whole bunch of time before we actually thought about diverging on all the potential problems with it, which there might be interrelated factors involved with solving the problems. And so that would be kind of an inefficient way to do it. Okay, so what caused the problem? So where do we find the causal chain, right? When we think about a problem that we have, what caused it? How can you find the root of the problem, so to speak? I don't know if anybody's got any problems that are coming to mind, not necessarily personal or Ottawa University. Seems like scheduling athletic fields and stuff has been a problem in the spring, right? Because lacrosse and football and soccer and flag football and all these sports are trying to be played on one. So, how do we figure out when something's happened, what the cause was? What are some things you do? Research, good. So you gather data, right? We're kind of like assessing the situation, who, what, when, where, why, how, that sort of thing. So we want to keep doing that. And then is that going to immediately come up with the problem, or might that be complex? Could be kind of difficult to figure out, well, where did that come from? Well, where did that come from, right? And so eventually we want to work down to the root cause. All right, so how do we get there? We want to figure out what the gaps are. So what's a gap? Mind the gap. Hey, oh wait, I do have an English. Mind the the gap, does that mean anything special to you, Cameron? I don't know where part of England you're in. Are you in London or something, or have you been there?
No.
You're up north, okay. So whenever I see the gap, I always think of mind the gap is a warning when you enter the London subway,
Yeah.
which I did way back in like 1995 or something. Maybe they've changed it since then, but you know the gap between stepping onto the train, there's like usually a gap there, and it says mind the gap. So anyway, Brock's gap.
Oh, isn't it just something that prevents you from where you are now and where you're wanting to go?
Yeah, yep. So that distance, right? So how can we come about sensing them is what we want to do in this. We're going to employ some strategic thinking. So how can we pick up on what exists now and what we want to have in the future? What are those critical issues? So we have some thinking tools like we've done before for this step in the process of formulating challenges. So again, we came from exploring the vision, and now what are some challenges that would keep us from getting that? All right, language is powerful. I need to get an A in this class. How many of you have thought that? How might I get an A in the class? What's different about those two statements? I need to get an A in the class. How might I get an A in the class? What's different about those? Those feel different, right? Kind of in a sense when you read them, Cameron?
The second one is like strategies and how to get there. And the first one is pretty much a statement.
Yeah. So I need to get an A. Well, that kind of just sits there, right? Whereas this one kind of puts you in motion already, right? How might I get an A in class? How many of you, right when I said that, started thinking, oh, I should probably do my homework, I should read a little bit more, make sure I change my, turn my assignments in. Oh crap, I didn't read the law, I gotta make sure I budget some time over the weekend to get the next law and the one I missed last night. You see how it started to set, I didn't ask exactly, but I see your heads nodding a little bit, how this statement kind of puts you in motion already thinking, just by adding on this, what we call a question stem. How might I get an A in this class? This is a favorite one that I came up with that I started using with my son. So, how was your day at school, son? What's the answer that you give mom and dad when, how was your day today? Good. Fine. Right? One word answer to that one. Did you have a good day at school? Yes, no, whatever. But if you just phrase it this way, all of a sudden fine and good doesn't work, right? In what ways did you have a good day today? Fine. Good, what are you, an idiot? Right? In what ways did you have a good day today? So we're changing the frame to your mind is turned to wanting to find an answer for that or having to come up with more than just a one-word answer. All right, so that's part of our techniques that we're going to do with formulating challenges is with these statement starters. So number one, put a questioning stem. In what ways might or how might I? Add someone to take action. So an I or a we. In what ways might the sales team, somebody who's going to need to take action, then add an action verb to tell what the person will do, eliminate, add, or alter, or increase. In what ways might the sales team increase? And then finish with a receiver, my bad habits, our enrollment this fall. In what ways might the sales team increase enrollment this fall, right? And so now all of a sudden we've put together something that you as the leader can bring to your team that this is our topic today. Our topic today is not increasing enrollment when I send out my email to my sales team. The topic for today's meeting is, in what ways might the sales team increase enrollments this fall? So if you're a person who likes their job and doesn't want to get fired, when you come to the meeting that day, what might you want to have on your mind? ways to do that, right? I mean, it basically is embodied in the title of what we're trying to do. Okay, so now practice your statement starters. Okay, this is what I was getting at with the other part of this, but we'll have it in there. So think about something you've always wanted to do. Once you have a vision of what you want to do, you can kind of use this in relation to your other, but you don't have to. Identify what is standing between you and your desired future. Use your statement starters. So go back to your converge list, which is what we just set up today. And we'll have this one due like Tuesday, right? So you guys will have this one coming after. You can do it at the same time. I'm just going to put the due date a little further out. You might want to do it at the same time if you're knocking out your converged list of your 10-year goals. You can do it with this step. So how do I do it? In what ways might I, in what ways should I generate at least 30 statements of these gaps or challenges, identify the key statements of the challenge, and analyze the implications for the next steps. So that will be Tuesday, trying to bring that together. Just so you know, the stuff that we're doing in this is what we're going to do for the education and more as well when we start to get to that stuff for the class project for those guys. Okay, let's see. I think that is going to be it for today. Yeah. So this is statement starters. This is just the webbing thing. We'll do that later. So statement starters. Generate at least 30 statements for the challenges of your converged 10-year goals. You don't have to have that vision statement, by the way. So notice what I said here is go back to your converged list of 10-year goals. So you might have a couple like goals that you just converged on, and then try to think about the gaps with the question sets. In what ways might I level? All right. So I will not see you till Thursday, but Nate will be here.